Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahshai, Ba'ashem Kokodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect who are the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Asherallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to read about an article that talks about how the Vatican Church is trying to extract the DNA of King David to bring in a new Messiah, right? But before we get into that, let's go and read this. This is Acts 22:2 and 29, Men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, and in his sepulchre with us unto this day. Therefore, being a prophet, and knowing that God hath sworn with an oath to him, that of the fruit of his loins, according to the flesh, he would raise up the Messiah to sit on his throne. So there's this article, and it's from the Daily Star, which is kind of like a tabloid and stuff. But the article was pretty, it's alluring, right? Because it just shows you the imaginations that these devils that are in the Holy Land, our homeland, right? Our, when I say us, I mean the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, because we are the true Israelites, and the nation of Israel, the land of Israel, is our homeland, right? And currently, there are imposters who live there who are doing a bunch of abominable things, including coming up with these type of conspiracy theories, or or if they are actually trying to do this, doing this, right? Now, let's go and just, before we get into the Vatican trying to dig up the bones of King David, let's actually take a look and find out, where is the tomb of King David? Now, first and foremost, we got to understand that this is probably not even King David's tomb, right? Because apparently he is lying in this tomb here, right? But you have to remember, King David, when you go to the Bible timeline, let's go there now. King David came in around all the way back here. Right? You have King Saul, then you have the story of when David, as a child, killed Goliath, the giant, right? And basically his reign, which is documented in 2 Samuel 5:1. But King David is noted living from 1040 to 970 BC. Okay, so that right there means that King David would have to have been in this tomb for close to 3,000 years. Okay, now the likelihood that this sepulcher here is from that time is very unlikely. Okay, and just because you got to remember that when the Romans came in, they destroyed a lot of things, including the towns and whatnot. And you got to remember, after 70 AD, there was 200 years that these devils wouldn't let any of our people into the land. Okay, now they ultimately destroyed the temple of the Lord, right, and all the the foundation stones and everything. And the area where King David was buried at is right here, right in this location, to the, I believe that's the south of where the temple would have stood, right? And underneath the step structures here is a cavity, right? Where basically it's where the sepulcher of David was reported being located. Now, again, here's another image. So you would have the temple of the Lord, and then you have the King David's sepulcher, which you would enter it down through here. This is where the stepped wall would be at. In here, you would go through these underground caves, and back over here is where the sepulcher of David would be at. Here's another image from the top. Right? You got the holy temple, the entrance, and then you have these different catacombs, which held different things. Right? This is what is documented. Now, that being said, these devils, again, they've changed the area a lot now, right? So much so that it no longer is like this. Like, for example, the place where the holy temple of the Lord is at is basically now a parking lot, okay? And that Wailing Wall that you always see these Amalekites, these so-called Jews or Edomites praying, is actually this huge fort called Fort Antonia, right? This Roman-built fort that was built right next to the temple as a show of dominance that was set up, okay? So that being said, let's go ahead and read this article, and then we'll get into a bit more scriptures. Now, the article says, the Vatican digs a legal tunnel to exhume King David's DNA and bring Messiah back to life. Now, first of all, the Messiah is alive, okay? Now, these devils, they have a false pretense of what they want to actually do, right? Because first of all, there's two parties in this story, right? First of all, it's the so-called Jews, which they've taken on this belief that only the Old Testament is valid, and they do not believe in who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right? They don't believe in the 12 apostles and any of that, okay? They are still waiting for a Messiah to come and save them, right? Well, this is what at least the unlearned so-called Jews believe, because the Jews at the very top, they understand that they are the Edomites, but the mass majority of the so-called Jews actually believe that they are the true Jews. And again, they've taken on the belief that the Messiah is still to come, right? And they, in fact, in their book, the Talmud, they say blasphemous things about the Messiah. Well, that's one side of this party. And the other party in this article is the Vatican Catholic Church, right? Now, they want to bring their own Messiah, right? Even though they do believe in the so-called Jesus Christ, they want to bring his DNA, or they want to clone the DNA and bring the Messiah themselves, right? Just because they're a bunch of devils, right? And again, this is all, if this, is actually true, right? Because this, again, could be a made up false, testimony, right? I wouldn't put it past these devils to do that, right? Because there's people all over there right now saying that they found, that they found the Ark of the Covenant buried underneath the Israel right now and all this stuff. But there's so many different false stories that you got to take all these with a grain of salt. But again, this is not the point of the lesson. The lesson is ultimately going to be about these Amalekites in the land of of Israel today. But let's just read the article and we'll go from there. It says, the Vatican has been digging a secret tunnel in Jerusalem in order to exhume King David's DNA and resurrect the Messiah, a rabbi has claimed. The Regavim movement, a group dedicated to the protection of Israel's national resources, filed a petition against the Jerusalem municipality last week, demanding that they take action against the tunnel. It claims there is a passage approximately 1,970 feet long and 5 feet wide under the Church of the Dormition on Mount Zion, on which construction was completed about 12 years ago. Regavim alleges Catholic authorities built the tunnel from the main building of the Dormition Abbey to the residence of the clergy in the Beit Yosef building. And it says, the group also says the passage was constructed without permission and may have damaged archaeological artifacts during the unsupervised digging process. But one spiritual leader is convinced the purpose of the tunnel is far more sinister than simple transportation. The rabbi, Daniel Asor, right, an Edomite, of the Yunar Institute, claims it was built to allow members of the Church of the Dormition to exhume the remains of King David, the king of Israel who killed the giant Goliath, who is believed to have been buried in Mount Zion. Asor, that's this guy right here, has also alleged that the church is acting on instructions from the Vatican, which he says has a plan to collect DNA samples from King David's bones. The Vatican will then use his DNA to clone an entirely new human who they will then attempt to fool the world into believing in the returned Messiah. Right? One of the key differences between Catholicism and Judaism is belief in the coming of the Messiah. Catholics believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God and the Messiah predicted to come and save the world from its sins in the Old Testament and are holding out for his second coming one day. Right? And that ultimately is false, right? Because he didn't come to save the world, he came to save only the Israelites, right? And let's see. And it says, however, believers in Judaism, and Judaism, by the way, is not in the Bible. Judaism is a created doctrine that was created. Let's look up the Bible timeline. When you look at the Bible timeline, you have in 70 AD, you have the king of Khazaria, or the Kagan Bulan, right? Kagan means king. He actually converted the entire country of Khazaria, which at that time, the Khazars are the people that you would know as the so-called Jews today, right? They were still Edomites, but they had gone by the name of Khazars at the time. They had converted over to a new religion, man-made religion, based off of the heritage of the true Jews, right? The Negroes. Okay. Now you got to understand, what these people were trying to do is they were trying to pretend that they were able to follow the heritage of the Israelites and claim it as a religion of their own. And they simply did this as a way to save their necks, right? Because they were basically the only pagan nation surrounded by Islam and Christian nations, which were more likely going to conquer them because of their pagan ways, right? It says in 740 AD, the Khazars, a pagan people who lived in the Caucasus Mountains, converted Judaism under decree of their king Kagan and took over the identity of the Israelites. Right? And that's ultimately what Judaism is. However, believers in Judaism don't believe in Jesus was the Son of God and are still waiting for the first coming of the Messiah. The Israel Antiquities Authority, the IAA, has long denied that the passage under the Church of the Dormition even exists. Right? And this is, it says the tunnel is located where the tomb of King David is believed to be. Right? And this is the top of the church, I guess, where King David is buried. Right? That room that I showed you, it's basically underneath here. And it says, but the Jerusalem municipality recently bowed to pressure and confirmed that there is an old tunnel in the suburban area. Official documentation revealed the 150-meter long tunnel consists of several underground rooms containing ancient artifacts, right? And those underground rooms are more likely these right here, right? And it says, despite these findings, the municipality still has not charged the church municipal land taxes for the illegal tunnel. And that's basically it, right? But that shows you, man, that these devils are basically doing wickedness in the land of our land, basically, right? If this is true, they're trying to desecrate the tomb of our King David, right? Or if it's a false, they're spreading lies, spreading a false report. But what did the Messiah say, right? What did Yahawashi, which is the true Hebrew name of so-called Jesus Christ, right? That's Hebrew for He is salvation, right? Yahawashi. What did He say about this? Well, this is written in Matthew 24 and 26. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, He is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, He is in the secret chambers, believe it not. So these devils, man, even if they were to harvest the DNA of King David's bones, they're not going to be able to resurrect the Messiah, because the Messiah already came and He's alive right now in another dimension, in the higher dimension, right? On His way back. So even if they were to clone or get the DNA of King David and then put that DNA, splice it into, an embryo of an adopted child or whatever, right? Or I'm sorry, not a child, an egg, and basically go from that. First of all, these devils would not even use a so-called Negro egg. They would use a freaking Amalekite or Edomite egg, right? And then they would take the DNA, and the baby that would come out would be an abomination. It would be something of Esau's own doing, right? This would not be a natural born child, something that is in the image of God. This would be a cloned creation, which is like a monster. Okay, this is something that Esau made as an experiment, and that's even if he could do this, right? But again, that's impossible. Like it tells you here, man, if they say that the Messiah is in the secret chambers, right, that is akin to saying that they're going to do some special type of process, like harvesting DNA and planting it in a donated embryo and bringing the Messiah back. See that right there? It's a complete lie, right? But why? Well, it tells you here, 1 John 2 and 18. Little children, it is the last time, and as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now there are many Antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. So you see, we're not waiting for one Antichrist to come. And if they would even be able to create this cloned, baby from King David's DNA, which again, they cannot. That little baby wouldn't be the Antichrist. It would be an abomination, but it wouldn't be the Antichrist. And why is that? Because there are many Antichrists, as I have highlighted here, right? But who is the main Antichrist? Well, it's Amalek, right? The so-called Edomites, the top tribe of the nation of Edom, right? The people who you will refer to today as the so-called Jews, the people who dwell in our ancestral homeland, right? These Israelis. They are just like the other Caucasians, though they are the top tribe of the Caucasian race, right? It tells you here in Ezekiel 36, right, a prophecy about them, where it says, this is Ezekiel 36:2, thus saith the Yahweh, our power, because the enemy hath said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. Skip it down in verse 5. Therefore, thus saith the Yahweh, our power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Edom, right? All Edom means all the white race, which have appointed my land into their possession with the joy of all their heart, right? And that's what these devils have done, man. They have appointed our land into their possession. And what are they doing with it, man? They're desecrating our holy spots. They're coming up with all these, far-fetched notions that they're going to resurrect the Messiah through, harvesting the DNA of our King David. Man, that right there is blasphemy. And why is that this going on? Why are they doing this? Well, because it tells you here in Exodus 17:16. For he said, because the Yahweh Ba'ashem Ashai hath sworn that Yahweh Ba'ashem Ashai will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. You see, these so-called Jews, they are the arch villain to the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? They are the people who the Lord is constantly at war with, because they are the devils that the Bible speaks of, right? And that's why they're doing crazy things like this, right? Where even if, this was true, this would be devilishly wicked, right? But it's not true, right? It's more likely just a far-fetched idea, right? A delusion of grandeur, but still, the mere thought of it, that these devils would be able to do it, is wickedness in itself, right? So, Amalek, he is the true Antichrist, right? And by doing things like this, releasing stories like this, proves it. So I just wanted to touch upon this article, Aki. I wanted to share what I found, and hopefully it was edifying. So until the next time, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rukok Radash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.